please talk about your career.
Yeah.
Where did you start and where are you now, please?
Yeah. Well, I started my professional career at a forerunner of the Christian University of Applied Sciences, where you have been in 2018. But then in the period I followed this university, I was, I think, 17 years old. It was in 1981 when I graduated as a social worker. And so there my career began. But after finishing my social work school, I had to spend my time in the Dutch army. And afterwards I started working as a general social worker. And I combined it with general social work. I combined it with being a school social worker on a school for children with conduct disorders and other behavioral problems. So these are my roots. My roots are social work. And in 1992, I graduated as a senior social worker. And it was during this training that I encountered the contextual approach by Ivan Bozomany-Nagy. And well, that really touched me. And to learn more, I followed, among other things, also the Contextual Therapy Masterclass, which was a joint venture between the Hahnemann University in Philadelphia and the University of Applied Sciences in Amsterdam. And there I was trained, and Nagy himself was also there to train us and to teach us. And also maybe familiar to you, Else Marie van den Erebeemt, a Dutch contextual worker who wrote a lot about contextual therapy.
Mm.
And afterwards, I attended various conferences, training sessions, intervision, learning therapy, etc. And in 2002, I obtained my European Certificate Psychotherapy. And in respect of this certificate, the Association of Contextual Workers granted me in 2003 the certificate Contextual Therapist, Contextual Supervisor, and Contextual Learning Therapist.
Oh.
So that's what my contextual program was. And in 2016, the Dutch Association for Relationship and Family Therapy registered me as a system therapist also.
Mm.
And well, in the meantime, I had ended my appointment as a social worker and started at the University of Applied Sciences in Ede as both a professor, social work, and supervisor. But because the contextual therapy was my choice to further develop, I also started my own practice for contextual therapy. And I stopped teaching social work around 2000, I guess. And then I started developing contextual therapy courses within our university. And some years later, I founded the Institute Contextual Therapy, of which you are familiar with, I guess.
Yeah.
And we now have several courses, both therapy courses as well as a master contextual therapy.
Mm.
And well, it's very nice that we have this opportunity to develop such trainings and such professionals. And my last memorable process was my PhD process. I started in about 2012, I guess, and I ended it in 2019. I earned my PhD at the University of Humanistic Studies in Utrecht.
Mm.
And my subject was the relevance and applicability of the contextual theory for therapy.
Mm.
Well, that, in short, I guess, was my story.
Thank you. And who were your mentors?
Yeah, there are several. I guess it started at my study social work back down in 1978, 79, 1980. There were some senior social workers who were very inspiring in how they combined a sort of closeness with the clients, together with a process which helped people to be more to help them solve their problems, or to give the problems a certain place in their lives so that they could go further. That were the first steps, I guess, and the first mentors I had. I would say the most important mentor was Norch, I guess, who was already before I met him in his theory. I was really enthusiastic about his theory. It appealed to me because it aligned with my own anthropology and my Christian faith. And I appreciated very much the emphasis on family relationships and the strength and the resources who were found within family relationships. So, and of course, the focus on multi-directed partiality, doing right to every person in the context. So, as such, this affected my career since, as you have heard in my story about when I started integrating contextual therapy in my both in my practice as well in my training students and developing courses. Yeah. So I feel very, very privileged that I can work with contextual therapy in a way my whole week. There are no other things I can think of contextual thinking and how to develop it and how to disseminate it through the Netherlands and even around the world if it's possible. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I also wrote my PhD, my thesis in English, because it has well, there are more people who read English than Dutch.
Yeah.
So hoping it will have some influence and be helpful. I had hopes to take these books with me to Hungary in 2020,
yeah.
But unfortunately there was no ICCT,
yeah.
And maybe in 2021, we don't know yet.
We hope, yes.
We hope, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
I spoke to Jennifer Coppola and Rashmi Khan-Khama just last week because they published a new article, and I congratulated them, and they also are very, very anxious that it will be possible or not. So we'll just wait and see.
You mentioned when you got to know contextual approach, and I'm very curious how it affected you on your work and your personality. And
okay, it affected me both in my personal life and in my therapy. To start with the last one, I was a social worker, and I had never thought of becoming a therapist, because the several therapeutical modalities were not attractive for me, and I was rather I felt good being a social worker, which meant being close to people and being human with the other humans. Maybe that's the best way to explain why I was attracted to social work. But getting to know the contextual theory, I discovered that in the heart of the contextual therapy, it is about humanity, being human with other humans. And that's why I thought this is a good way to expand my knowledge and my being a therapist with the same core elements as being human with other humans and helping humans to be human with others, which is, if you ask me, the core of the contextual approach, as well as the central axiom that we need each other to to exist. We need each other to live our lives. And I think these two things, being human, emphasizing humanity, being human, and emphasizing the fact that we need each other, and we also have a sort of an innate sense to take care for each other. And we should try to elicit this innate sense instead of pointing the finger towards the problems. So it's more strength-oriented than problem-oriented. These things were very meaningful for me. And in a way, that this was also affecting my own life in more focusing on how am I human for the other, for the others. And the other side is also how am I human for the others, but also how do I give others the possibility to be helpful for me. So this reciprocity was a very meaningful focus on human relationships. So maybe these are the core elements. And in my PhD study, in my research, I more emphasized on this theme, trying to reconstruct the contextual theory in a sort of a clear way. Was not a very good writer, and I tried to help our students to make a sort of model for the contextual theory to be able to understand it more easily. And probably this will be one of the things I will speak about in the conference, which is a rather new subject. I haven't spoken to about this with Emeka yet, but I was thinking about changing my subject a little bit. And then this is one of the elements I would like to present. Does this sort of make sense?
Yes, definitely. And thank you very much for sharing this.
You're welcome.
The following question is that Jaap Van Der Meiden dealt a lot with the transgenerational heritage in the family. And do you also have transgenerational trauma to process that you have worked with or you have already processed?
Yeah, well, I guess everyone has a history. So there is no way to escape history. There is a way to act as if there is no history, but mostly it doesn't succeed. And so everyone has a history, but there is also a constructive, a part is with constructive elements, and there are more destructive elements in all our histories. And I must say, I feel very happy with the environment of love and respect in which I grew up. That's a privilege. Not everybody is able to have parents who are loving and who try to seek the best, or better said, I should say, all parents try to seek the best, but they struggle with injustices or traumas themselves, which makes it rather difficult to create an environment of love and respect. But I was rather satisfied with how my parents did, which doesn't mean that there are also destructive elements which I had to learn to cope with. And I must say, my early study social work, I was 16 when I started my study social work. I was really young, but it helped me already at a young age, trying to look at my history and my upbringing and things I have had experienced, and to speak about it. It is rather a privilege to do a training or following a school in which you are stimulated to start speaking with your parents about the things that didn't go right. And I think that was the main thing that helped me cope with destructive elements, which is a process throughout your whole life, of course. But the resources I received in my upbringing were very strong, and I was able to cope with the destructive ones by focusing on my constructive resources. So I feel a privileged person, which also means that that gives me a sort of a responsibility to take care for people who are less privileged. As Notch says, there is a difference in responsibility and the right to receive, and that's also a way of looking at why I chose this way, and why I think it's good to reach out to those people who have a less positive environment experienced. But there are also ghosts of the past throughout your whole life, and so now and then one pops up, and then you have to work on it again. Yeah, that's how it is.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You were the organizer of the second ICCT conference, which was held within the framework of the Institute Contextual Approach in 2018. What were your motivations for reviving the first ICCT conference from 1997? So it's like a long time.
Really, that was a long time. Yeah. And the funny thing is that at first I was completely unaware that there had ever been an earlier ICCT, and this is really true. I came up with the name International Contextual Conference, International Conference on Contextual Therapy, just because I thought that's what it is. And we started organizing it and inviting people and creating a program. And then at one day, I think I got it from Catherine Ducommun-Notch, a leaflet from the ICCT 1997. And then I discovered that there was a first ICCT, not knowing that when we started organizing it. So we have never called it the second ICCT because we didn't know. But my motivation was simply to ensure that the contextual therapists from all over the world would get in touch with each other. I thought that is very important. We are not there are not very many contextual therapists, but there are, and I hoped to strengthen and spread the contextual thinking and to encourage each other. And I must say I was really surprised by how much contextual therapists attended the ICCT. A lot of registrations, but also a lot of abstracts were sent in. So I felt very lucky, and especially because there is still contact with a lot of these international contextual therapists. I just told you about my contact with Jennifer Coppola and Rasmi Gangama and Tatjana. I will meet Tatjana, I guess, somewhere in the beginning of July, when we are in the promotion committee, in the PhD committee of Merce. I don't know what her name is, in Spain. She does her thesis on contextual therapy on the RES, and we are both in this committee to evaluate her thesis. So that's nice. And I'm doing research with Alvin Lander from Israel, who I met at the ICCT. So together we do research at forgiveness. So it was a very successful ICCT, and actually it was what I hoped it would be, and but never knew it was the second.
It sounds like it was a great success, though. Since you've had lots of contact, and here we are organizing the second one, which is actually the third one.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I was very happy because at the ICCT back in 2018, I asked, now who's going to organized the next one. And Emeka was very, very fast in saying, well, we're going to invite you to Budapest, which is, of course, the best place to do an ICCT.
Yeah, that's my next question.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, and because it was Beszerményi's 100th birthday, so that was like it would have been a great time to do it last year, but it will be great this year too. So we heard that you have been to Hungary, especially in Budapest, several times already. Tell us a bit about your experiences. How did you like our country, our food? What did you enjoy the most?
Our music.
Our music.
The music, yes. I guess I've been in Hungary about 25 times or so.
Wow.
And the reason is that I played in a band. I play bass guitar and contrabass. Or double bass. I don't know how you say it in English. I guess double bass will be the best one. And we toured as a band together with a choir, and we started touring in Hungary in 1985, just some years before the fall of the wall, which were the most impressive years. I had been in Hungary already before that. No, it was after that. So I was. I've been there, I think, at least 20 times with the choir and the band. And the nice thing of touring in Hungary with the band is that we always stayed in host families. So I met a lot of Hungarian people. We toured throughout the whole country, especially the east and the northern east part. We've been a lot, but also in the southern and Budapest. Every year we came also in Budapest. And we've also been in Gödöllő and a lot of places and a lot of host families, and that was very nice to meet people, though not everyone spoke English or Dutch. That was rather a problem, but by drawing what we wanted to say, we succeeded. But there were also people who were able to speak English or Dutch, and then we had nice discussions. Yeah, these were the nicest weeks of the year, really. It was nice to make music, but it was also nice to meet all those people. And the country is there are beautiful parts, and there are parts they are really monotone. May I say that? So the road from Budapest to Debrecen, the old road, beautiful. I've really enjoyed it, especially when there were heavy clouds. It was really the horizon so far away. So I enjoyed these parts, and the Balaton was of course nice, and the around Miskolc, how do you call them, the baths around Miskolc. So yeah, and Budapest is beautiful, and it became even more beautiful after the fall of the wall. And they cleaned the buildings, and the atmosphere was far more free. And so I've experienced the fall of the wall as a very big change of Hungary. And you should have experienced it also. Those who are old enough to know Hungary from before it. So this is. My experience with the Hungarians. Their hospitality is absolutely the most significant element, I guess. Wherever we came, there was always food, far more than we could manage. And there was in the first years when we were in Hungary, there was always palinka at breakfast. And we are not used to palinka at breakfast, so that made us sick. So, but people got to understand that we didn't drink alcohol at breakfast. So,
what is your favorite food? Favorite Hungarian?
Töltött káposztán.
Oh,
really? Yeah, that's really delicious.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah, I guess I think it's because it's the first also I had in Hungary, but I never ate it since so good as the first time. But that's, yeah, really, yeah, I like it very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic that you remember the name in Hungarian, töltött káposzta. It's not like an easy word to remember.
No, well, you know, when I think I learned a lot of words in Hungarian, but I've never learned the grammar, so it made it very difficult to speak Hungarian. And now I think it's about, well, 10 years ago that I've been there for the last time. No, not 10, 5 years, I guess. And that's when I was with my wife. We had holiday and we went to Dömös, just above Budapest. We were there camping, and on the way back, we decided to go to Kölsefot, the town where Nagy was a lot and where he is buried, where his grave is.
Igen.
I'm sorry?
Külsővat.
Yeah, well, okay, that's the one I meant. So, and we went to the graveyard and we visited his grave, and it was very nice to be there. And so I hadn't been there because when we were in Hungary, it was not on our route to go there. So therefore, we decided to go when we were on holiday. So I think it was 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Mm.
And I told Catherine that I was there, and she was a bit angry on me because she said, "Oh, you should have told that you were going to Kölsefot, because I have family and they would have invited you." And probably there is some family from Nagy still living in Kölsefot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
So maybe we can go there again. I don't know yet.
And the last question: how would you encourage people to come to the conference?
Oh, because it's very good to be there and to meet all those people, of course, especially when you're somewhat known in the contextual therapy, you can learn a lot. But I would say the contextual approach is so important in this time of individualization, contradictions, and certainly in this time where contact has become so charged, so difficult. There's no other approach that I know which has so strikingly touched the essence of humanity, as I told in the beginning already, the essence of humanity and human relationships. And I think we need contextual thinking, and especially we badly need a view on relational ethics, because this relational ethics offers us the hope of restoring humanity and restoring the strength of the next generations, which is not at least an important focus of the contextual therapy. So I would say you should really come.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was really interesting to hear about that you were in Hungary in the end of the 80s, before the end of the communism. And I'm curious that how did you find the Hungarian families in that time, I mean, in the communist area, compared to the Western families or in your country?
I understand what your question is, because that is really something which was rather different. The difference between the Western world and the Hungarian world, or the communistic world, in these years, was that we missed the people on the street. It was so silent at the streets. We were many times in Hungary on the 1st of May. Then there was a lot of festivities, but after the fall of the communistic regime, it was far more equal with the Western world. People were on the streets, people were speaking with each other, people were laughing. But before, it was really silent, and very, very few people, very few youth on the streets also. That was really, we wondered why it is so quiet. Even in Budapest, it was not as crowded as it is now, which is not always so pleasant, of course, but there was a big difference in freedom, and there was a big difference in the shops. You know how the Western world looks right now, but back in '85 it was very, very sober, very small. The shops were small. There were very little articles to buy. There was a lot of articles were not available. Mostly we took gifts with us for the host families, and in these years we took coffee and all these stuff who were not very much available in Hungary. But later on we didn't need to. We took tulips with us and other stuff which was not very. Which did not belong to the most important elements for the life. So there has been a lot of changes. We played in Debrecen also in these first years, and there was a big shopping mall. Maybe you know about the shopping mall, and it was rather as if it didn't fit over there because there were Western shops, but the host families where I was said, yeah, but we can't buy there anything because it's far too expensive. And I think that more or less has changed. So yeah, that's my experience about these first years. The sort of the insecurity of people, as if it is not safe to walk on the street and to be too outrageous about things or so. Understand what I mean?
Yes, thank you very much. It's really interesting. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.